Well, Brett, it's summer.
It's summer. It's hot.
You have a new grandbaby.
I do.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, I mean, he turns 1 at the end of July, so that's kind of fun.
Yeah.
But grandkids
So they're
are
fun age where they're not just a little blob. They actually have personality.
making faces at you and
Yeah.
pulling himself up on things, and
Is it weird to have your kids having kids?
it's my son's son, right? So there's nothing cooler than watching your son be a dad.
Yeah.
Well, oh, it's just amazing. It's just amazing watching him, all the joy and the fun of it. And then honestly, he hit the jackpot with a wife.
Okay.
And like she's a fantastic mom. And
Okay.
and I was thinking about this the other day. You know, they say babies imitate their parents' facial expressions. Like
Really?
that's what they start doing at the very beginning is they imitate their parents' facial expressions. And this kid is smiling and grinning and just squinting his eyes. He's smiling so big all the time.
Yeah.
And it just occurred to me that like both my son and daughter-in-law, they're like engaging with him so much and they're always smiling at him and laughing with them. And
Wow.
it's had a huge impact, I think. So yeah, it's definitely the best thing ever to watch your.
Does it feel like they're natural parents?
Yeah.
No one's a natural parent. We always feel
yeah,
like.
I mean, my daughter-in-law is the youngest of 5.
Okay.
And she has 16. My son has 16 or 17 nieces and nephews. So like in a sense, she is kind of like, and she's like 8 years younger than the next oldest. She's the youngest.
I see.
8 years older than the next youngest. So she's got 3 older sisters and a older sister-in-law and a mom who've all like, so she's like so low key, like,
yeah.
Like she sent us a video of him eating tomatoes in the garden. There's like dirt all over his face and dirt on the tomatoes. And he's just popping them, cherry tomatoes, he's just popping them in his mouth. And she's like, "Oh, do you like those?" And I'm like, "Oh my word." He's like chowing down.
Wow. In a post-COVID world, to not be a germaphobe is quite something.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Especially for that generation. I mean, they were.
When you had kids, did you feel prepared? Like, did you feel like, because you had a good dad.
I had a great dad. I was really looking forward to being a dad. I tell guys this story all the time. So my wife, we go to a birthing center. We have our first child, Cassidy. She looks just like me, even as a baby. And so there's a little, like a recliner next to the bed. So everything gets done and everybody gets cleaned up. They wrap Cassidy in a blanket and they hand her to me and I'm holding her in my arms. And so I'm waiting for this experience that's going to be like, oh, you look down at your new baby and you're just like full of, and so I looked down at her and I felt nothing. And like that freaked me out. Like, sure. Why don't I feel anything? And it was, I mean, like
surreal was the feeling.
I think,
like, whoa.
Yeah. Yeah. So like over the course of the next week, I fell in love with this little baby.
Yeah.
And, taking care of my wife was part of what I did that week. Just trying to take care of her, trying to take care of the baby. My wife didn't change a diaper for the first like 10 days. I just did it. And
good for you.
And then we got pregnant again. And I'm like, I love this little girl so much. I literally don't know if I could have space.
Yeah. I remember that.
And then your heart just grows
somehow. So you like the Grinch. It just gets a little bigger.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly like that.
Well, it's interesting though, because I've read somewhere that it does tend to be a pattern where obviously mom has carried the baby and there's a hormonal connection and there's a physical connection and there's a spiritual connection that she's known this child, everything but the face.
Yeah.
By the time they're coming out. And it is a known thing that men are just like it, we take a minute. There's a sense in which
that's a great way of saying it.
It's not that there's anything wrong. It's just that frankly, our hormone system and the way we're created is not meant for like immediate connection like that.
Right.
And I felt that same way. It was surreal. It was like, what do I do now? Yeah. Like what do I do?
Yeah.
And but I think it plays out as well because one of the faults you often hear of fathers is they're just not present.
Yeah.
And as the child ages, they get stuck. It might be the word, where instead of learning to parent, learning to be present, you make a mistake, like you didn't show up appropriately the way you thought you might, and then okay, sorry, I'll try that again, Joe.
Yeah.
Or you miss it, you miss a game because you had to work, or you were selfish, something. But men repeatedly have to be reminded: be a present dad.
Yeah.
Be a present dad. Put the work down. Put the screen down.
Yeah.
Moms much less so.
Well, I think there's the flip side of that too is like I've been around guys and even my own wife at times where they're just like every time the baby makes a noise or needs something like I'll take care of that. I'll take care of that.
Yeah.
So you get into that. You can either get into the habit or just actually begin to believe like, oh, I'm just not good at this. Like she wouldn't be taking the baby away from me. She wouldn't be handling things if I was good at this.
Right. I wonder if that's part of it.
And I just didn't let her do it. I'm just like, no, I'm doing this.
I mean, there's a phrase, like guys, some men, I'm guilty of this as anybody, will allow themselves to be functionally incompetent for a minute. Like, well, I don't know what I'm doing.
Oh yeah. Well, I think that's a genetic thing. The Y chromosome. Yeah, the functional incompetence.
Oh,
yeah. The convenient incompetence. Yeah.
And there's something to it. I mean, yeah, men get this short on the stick and complaining a lot these days. But I think on that one, there's some truth to it.
Yeah.
But I honestly feel like in some ways it's either the way we're created or the way our sin affects our creation.
Yeah.
Or
our father's sin.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's actually interesting you mentioned that because talk about your dad.
Yeah.
You've always said he was a great dad.
I had a great dad. Yeah. People guys talk about having father wounds. I tell people I have like fatherhood. I have father like bumps. Maybe a bruise here or there. Yeah, my dad was great. He was super engaged with me, which is amazing because his dad loved the Lord and loved him, but he was not a great dad. They were missionaries, and my dad was left in the United States when he was 12 years old with a family that he didn't know, and his parents went back to the mission field, and he didn't see his dad again until he was like 19. So he didn't have that during that time. Like he didn't really have a dad pouring into him. He was kind of had to do it on.
So did he respect his dad, but didn't have his dad, kind of thing?
I think he respected his dad. I think he loved his dad, but I think he was hurt by his dad. Yeah. So then instead of like internalizing that and acting like that was normal, he worked hard to do the exact opposite. So my dad my dad worked in the finance world in the work for mutual fund companies.
A career not normally known for its free time.
No, and he had to travel, a fair amount, and but he just worked really hard to be intentional with us about time that he spent with us.
All right, tease that out. What does because you hear that phrase a lot.
Yeah.
What was his intentional with you guys?
Yeah, well, on the weekends he looked for ways to spend time with us, because we tended to work. We lived in a suburb. He had an hour and a half commute each way every day. So there wasn't going to be a lot of time at night. We ate dinner together as a family almost every night, especially when I was
increasingly rare. Yeah.
Yeah. Especially when I was little. As we got older and we had stuff, like teenage stuff to do. But, so we ate dinner together, had the sort of prayers at bedtime, all that stuff. But then on the weekends, he just worked really hard. I mean, that might be stuff I didn't want to do, like chores in the yard. And I told you this before. He would trick me. I felt like he would trick me. He would say, "Hey, you want to go grab an ice cream?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, that's great." And then we'd get in the car, pulling out of the driveway, and it would be like, "Oh, by the way," and he would like, "I have these 3 errands to do while we're out. You're stuck." And I just remember feeling like, "You got to be kidding me! Like, can't we just go get ice cream?" And now looking back as a dad, I'm like, oh, he was just stretching the time out for us to be together and teaching me about taking care of things, all that stuff too. But yeah, and then we would go get ice cream, and I remember sitting at a counter at a Friendly's ice cream place. It's called Friendly's, and my dad, who was trained by the Navigators when he was a young Christian, he would always carry 3x5 cards in his shirt pocket, and it would. I remember this like it was yesterday. I'm 8 years old. I've got a hot fudge sundae sitting in front of me. They put it in front of me, and my dad pulls a card out and he puts it in front of me. I'm 8, and he with a pen, and he goes, "Son, why don't you write down what do you think the like top 5 priorities in your life are right now?" And I'm like, number 1, eat my hot fudge sundae. Like what are you talking about? But he was just always trying.
Yeah,
he was just always trying and engaging and Yeah, I loved that. Yeah.
It's interesting that he chose a brief moment to have a short little conversation.
Yeah.
I think I mean, so my story as a dad is I've got a about to be 17-year-old, oldest daughter. She is very much independent. I mean, she's practically an adult. I mean, from about the age of 14, 15, you could tell, like,
Yeah.
she's got her life together.
Yeah. Oldest girl.
Oldest girl, second mom. And, she's got a job. She has a great boyfriend. She has a car. She's committed. She's almost a straight A student.
Yeah.
And when she got her 1B, she told me she cried her eyes out. She's that child. I'm like, who are you?
Yeah.
It's like after your mother. The drive. So I find myself having to invite her to do things now. It's an interesting transition where young daughter, oh, you're doing things with me, like what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, hey, do you want to come over this weekend, spend time with me? And she's like, well, and you could tell it takes an hour for her to get back with me.
Yeah.
Because she's thinking, what else might I have on my
right?
plate?
Yeah.
She's thinking like a young adult,
Keeping her options open,
keeping her options open. The boyfriend's more fun than the dad.
Yeah,
always. But then I have my middle son, and I'm finding it's the in-between moments that matter the most.
Yeah.
Like if I try to sit him down and say, let's have a big talk about being a man. I mean, every dad wants that. You're like, let's have our first cigar, our first, sit down. Let's go on a long walk.
So. Yeah, like 13.
Yeah.
First cigar.
Yeah. He's almost 15. Still too young, but whatever. But the point is like you always think, oh, I'm going to do these big talks, and I think the challenge for first time dads, even second and third child, is we try to make up for the times we didn't show up.
Yeah.
And so we know that there was a moment we didn't show up to when they had something important for work. We missed it, or there was an important conversation, we flubbed it, and then we go, I'm going to make up for that. Right. Do a double talk. It really
doesn't work.
Doesn't work.
It doesn't work, and I think there's like sort of the practical issue of, it's just you can just be overwhelming, or you're fueled by your own guilt rather than love for your child. You're sort of fueled by your own guilt. But I think the other thing is like we're in such a culture that is so oriented on like what trauma have you been through,
right.
And so I think we're like, oh my word, I just inflicted trauma on my kid because I
feel that. Yeah, you always
I missed this thing. Yeah. And maybe you did.
Yeah.
But you can't change that. And really, I think the only way that gets changed is when the Lord smooths that over for you. And so, your effort will never be enough to fix things. But a God who loves us and is merciful and kind and loves your kid more than you do.
Yeah, definitely.
That's where healing can come.
Yeah, and it's about being humble.
Yeah,
because that effort that I've had at times to want to have a big old sit down talk, or let's hash it all out, is overwhelming.
Right.
It's barely not overwhelming for an adult. How much more is it for a teenager? And they've already got their own chaos.
Well, and like we're brooding. Like, you know what I mean? Like we're thinking for a week about this conversation we want to have, and then we like sit down with them, and they have 4 seconds to like you're like, you want to talk to me about what? Like I've done that to my daughter several times. From like, I've been thinking about this thing I got to talk to her about, and then when we sit down, it's the perfect time for me.
Yeah, it's not perfect
time for her, and just turns her off.
What's begun to be good for me with my middle son, he's 14 and a half. He's at that perfect age where I'm still his hero on almost everything. He knows my flaws. I'm open about that. He's seen my failings, but I'm still like the man he wants to be when he grows up. Yeah, I still feel that from him, which is great because you never know. Sometimes they're just different personalities, or just something's off, or sometimes you screw it up. But he still wants to be me. But he's at that point where he's still testing me.
Yeah,
he's my height, and he always wants to test. Like, shut up. But he wants to test that. He wants to wrestle a little bit. Like he wants to test. He's in puberty, so he's in that. But what I'm finding with him is, I thought I would do these big sit down how to be a man talks. You know what it is? I'm teaching him to cook because that's the one thing I said. When you leave this house, you're going to know how to feed yourself.
Yeah.
So, but as he's cooking, I'll be like, hey, let me describe to you what it feels like to fall in love.
Yeah.
This is our recent talk. And I was like, it feels scary, but exciting. And you're suddenly this person's all you think about, and you don't know why. and you get kind of stupid about it. And I said, "This is why you see love puppy dog eyes." And he was like, "Oh, okay." And that was it.
Yeah.
Just a little.
Yeah.
It's like a little bite size.
It's those along the way
Along the way.
conversations, that are the most important. I used to say to my son, "Hey, you want to go to Home Depot with me?" And he knew what that meant was we were going to go to Home Depot and get something, and then there was a hot dog truck outside the Home Depot.
They're not there anymore.
I haven't seen him either. But couple of picnic tables, hot dog vendor,
Yeah.
and so we'd get a couple of hot dogs and we'd sit out there and we'd people watch. But then, I'd ask him a question about something, or he'd ask me a question about something. We had so many great, like 8 to 12 years old. We used to go to Home Depot every month or so for something we were doing around the house. And along the way.
The other piece, and I'm curious about your thoughts on this, is there always comes a time, I'm realizing now that I've done it with 2, where you stop preventing their mistakes and you start letting them happen in like little doses.
Yeah.
So my middle son, again, I wouldn't let my youngest do this because he's about to be in 5th grade. No, I don't think has the awareness and the capacity to do this, nor would he want to. But my middle son has gotten into all these text message debates with his best friends. He got 3 or 4 best friends. And my son would describe himself as somewhat in the libertarian camp. I have no idea how he got there. I didn't give him a pamphlet. He's just gone down the list and he's like, I think that should be free. I think this should be controlled. And he's just like, he's got his list. And I'm like, okay. But he knows what he thinks.
Yeah.
And I've been watching him because his friends are left of center politically. Just his friends that he knows from school. And they get into it a little bit, just a little too far, where my son will say something snarky or sarcastic and it'll sound like he's rude.
Yeah.
And they'll say, well, you seem like you're closed-minded. And he's like, no, I'm not. And I what's very interesting about being present is I originally, I think his mom wants to do this a bit, go in and be like, hey, cut it out. Like, you don't even know what you're talking about. Shut up. Like, you guys are kids.
Yeah.
But I've been doing this thing where I let them fail.
Yeah.
And he put his foot in his mouth a few times. And I said, so how did that feel? He's like, well, I didn't like it. I felt like I didn't communicate what I believe. And I said, welcome to manhood.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to have foot and mouth disease from time to time. And just letting them make mistakes, letting them choose things that they want to do. It's actually been really hard because you go from they're going to do what you tell them to do,
right,
to now they're making their own choices, and it gets scary.
Yeah, I think you're going from from protection to teaching.
Right.
Like, when they're little, you have to protect them. They don't know any better, and over time, sort of the teaching comes in and sort of takes on a little bit more, and the protection goes down a little bit.
Yeah,
I think the other thing that's different is girls and boys, because
very much.
I was much more protective of my daughter growing up than I was of my son. My son was pretty easy in one sense to parent, just because he's always a little bit more mature than the other kids his age. But you look at your daughter, you're a little girl, and you're like, I don't want her to make a mistake. I don't want her to get hurt.
Right.
I don't want her to be sad. I don't want her,
Right.
And
I'd be curious. What? Not to put words in her mouth, but would your wife have felt the same about your son?
Oh, that's a good question.
I wonder if because I have often said, pity the man that doesn't get to raise a daughter.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to raise a son too, and that's amazing. But there's something. I didn't have any sisters growing up, and I remember having a daughter, and I was like, "You are different."
Oh, it's different. Yeah, they're definitely. I mean, my
daughter was 2, and I came home from work, and she goes, "Daddy, how was your day?" I come home, my 2-year-old boy would be like, just run around naked.
Yeah, he's gonna punch you in the belly
or something. Yeah. And but there's a sense in which I don't know. It's like with my sons, I wanted to be tough and be self-confident because that's what I lacked at that age. With my daughter, I wanted to be protected. Like, I want to make all the decisions for her and help her figure it out. And I'd be curious if moms feel that way about sons. They're like, it's because I've seen moms going hard with their daughters. Like, like, no, you're not being like that.
I mean, I think moms and daughters often have conflict, and luckily, I think my daughter got all of her teenage years done when she was 3, because she was almost impossible to live with when she was a 3-year-old.
Oh, wow.
And then as a teenager, she was actually relatively easy, which is not a normal story.
No.
But I think there's this mom-daughter thing where where a daughter can just like, do that little lip curl thing to their mom, like,
Oh,
you're
yeah.
stupid,
Yeah.
and it drives the mom crazy. But sons, like my son and wife had special related, like a Spotify list that was their little song list that I played in the car when she drove them places. But then like he went to college and it was like he became an orphan. He didn't care. Like he just wanted to do his thing.
Yeah.
And hardly ever called home, and we had to track him down for the first year or two, and then he became a human being again. But
Yeah.
yeah.
You probably remind him of that often.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he's great. He's great. I'll tell you the other thing that I did, though, you're talking about the along the way stuff, is that for both my kids were athletic, so I got involved in their youth sports.
Okay.
And so I coached my son in soccer. I coached him in, I was, assistant coach on his, was a Pop Warner, but like youth football team. And then my daughter, I coached her in soccer, and she was really good. And then quit.
Yeah, right.
And started doing rock climbing. And then my son got into rock climbing. And so we did rock climbing stuff together. And so we were constantly going somewhere. So we had all this car time.
Yeah.
Car
time is big.
Car time is big.
Turn the radio off.
Yeah.
Questions come up.
Let's just talk. And then that also, especially not so much for my daughter, because my daughter just wanted to be with me, but my son wanted to be with his friends. So I would like, well, let's go camping. And we'd take 2 or 3 of his friends and we'd have these great conversations with his friends. And the worst part, I would be like, no cell phones, like put your cell phones away. We're going to actually talk to each other. Otherwise they just, of course, be hunched over for the entire road trip. But
well, it's interesting when people usually talk about dads being present, and when you see like memes on social media, it's usually show up to stuff. It's a physical presence.
Right.
And they're amazing little clips you see of like the daughter or son is little and they're doing their first stage performance and they didn't know dad was going to make it. And then they see dad and they're like, oh yeah. Like those are amazing.
Yeah.
Or the soldier comes home, the dad comes home, like those are tearjerkers. I get it. There's a physical presence.
Yeah.
Particularly since still in the majority of homes, the dad's off to work and mom's home. It's still the majority.
Right.
So the when is dad coming home becomes the first line of defense for presence.
Right.
I'm back. My work is done. I'm here. But there's a second presence that I think I've become more tuned into as I've aged as a parent, which is it's more about the to use my son's word. It's the vibe of how you are present, or the willingness.
Yeah.
So my son this summer, both of them, we have some woods behind my house, a little easement, and I was like, all right, you guys are going to be on screens a lot. I bought him a machete and an axe, and I said, go conquer Mirkwood back there. And they did. They go out there, and they're like, we can play with knives and things. So,
they chop stuff up.
Yeah. And what was interesting is like, I started going out with them a little bit. I hate it because it's 100 degrees and there's mosquitoes. I'm worried about snakes and things. But I'm finding they just want me to be interested in what they're interested in.
Right.
And then in that space is when they start asking me questions and being interested in stuff.
Yeah.
Because I remember one time I was doing all this driving around for different practices, and I used to just be honest. I'd be like, yeah, this is hard. They'd be like, really? Why? And I said, I leave to pick you up, and it's like 2 to 3 p.m., and I'm getting back at 8:30, and I didn't even get to make dinner, and this kind of thing. And what was interesting is my son goes, hey, like, but you still like taking us, right? And it was interesting. I was like, yeah, I'll take. But they were hearing like, oh, you don't like it. But what my son eventually said is like, I like dad's always there because when I need to ask you something or bring something up, you're there too.
Yeah, it's I had a friend who used to call that the ministry of availability.
Ministry of availability, yeah.
And just being, because you can't ask somebody a question that's not there to ask them.
But you don't know when they're going to have the question.
Absolutely.
So my son, this is 2 years ago, was like, Dad, he's in middle school finally. And I had warned him. I said, middle school boys are different. They're cruder, they're ruder. Like, you're going to hear every word under the sun.
Right.
And he brought it up. He said, Dad, how do I handle? I said, he said, curse words don't bother me. I just pretend I don't hear it. He says, but when they go into like crude stuff at the lunch table, how do I deal with that?
Yeah.
But he didn't ask that in the come into my room.
Yeah, he didn't make it
knock.
didn't make an appointment.
Yeah, yeah. It was not I need to talk to my dad about this. It was, he just got in the car and was like, hey, Dad, I got to bring something up. This just popped in my head. And I had to be there for it.
Right.
And, I think the reality is physical presence is not the only thing. It's the step to get to the deeper questions of parenting that you want to have. And I think my kids with their mom are more like approach, because you can always approach your mom, but mom's mom. But with your dad, it's like, I got a question, Dad. And it only happens in the weirdest, we're cooking eggs, we're driving to the store. Like, it doesn't happen when I thought it would happen.
Right. Yeah, I think kids get, I've said this before, kids get their emotional intelligence sort of from their mom, but they learn integrity from their dads.
Yeah.
They learn that like, if I believe this, then I act this way. If I break this rule, then I face this consequence. Like this sort of the way the world works from a moral standpoint.
Yeah.
You get that from your dad. From your mom, you get like, hey, be nice, and it is easy to get your feelings hurt, and those kinds of things, which is also important.
Yeah.
But if that's all you get, I think we can see that around us. A lot of young men, that's all they got.
All they have is emotional.
Was the emotional stuff, and so they live in their emotions, and sometimes they take on other people's emotions. Rather, they ignore their own experience, and they take on other people's emotions, and they're just like, I don't know what.
There's like a spine missing there.
Yeah, they're just wussy and soft and passive, and it's rare that I talk to a guy that's like that had a really decent father.
Yeah,
that had a good relationship with his dad, or even a present dad.
Yeah, it is rare.
Yeah, but if they're like, solid, common sense.
Yeah, common sense is a big one.
And not oversensitive, but also not mean-spirited. Like that's almost always a sign of a great dad. No offense to moms.
No. I think so just going back to my son with his like political debates he has with his, and they're funny. It's that they're, given the actual state of political issues, like the stuff they're arguing about is like, why are there so many gay characters in Marvel movies? Like that's one they argue about. And it's like, that's a them question. But what'll happen is I'll hear it and I'll let it happen, because I want him to mess it up a little bit and then go, all right, what'd you learn?
Yeah.
Like, how do you...
Yeah, you want to let him take a swing.
Yeah. What I eventually... One time I was literally like letting him take a swing, as every dad wants to. It's like, yeah, go out there and argue. You're going to sound stupid half the time and learn how to... Because you don't know how to communicate what you think. And you need to learn... And I told him...
Better now when the stakes are low, right?
Yeah, stakes are low. Also, I said, you need to learn how to argue with your buddies and not lose them as friends.
Yeah.
And I went down this list of things I care about. And he goes, okay. He goes, well, Mom just keeps telling me to calm down and stop. And I looked at him, and I intuitively, I think I was going at what you're talking about, because I said, listen, every woman in your life is at some point is going to tell you to calm down. And I said, you should always listen. I said, your wife will sometimes tell you to settle down. You'll have a daughter, she'll tell you to settle down. And your mom right now will, even when you're a grown man, will be like, settle down, boy. And I said, I care more that you fight right.
Yeah.
That you approach this right. And I looked at him, I said, we're both right. I said, Mom's going to calm you down and tap you into the emotional tension of what's happening. I'm going to make sure you don't like haul off and slug your buddy with like verbally without knowing what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's really good.
And it's true, because I don't care about the emotional side of it. I mean, I care about his emotions. But as a man, you're arguing with your buddies about sports or anything. Like, you're never really that.
Oh yeah.
You'll call him an idiot. We'll tease each other all the time. I mean, like you and I, we're just two bald idiots talking on a podcast right now. Like, we do this. But, for his mom, it's stay soft, stay nice. But imagine if he only had me, he'd end up probably an egotistical narcissist.
Right.
If he only had Mom, he would be told to stop.
Be passive. Yeah, be passive.
Yeah. And there's a sense in which that's the role of the father is like, and we of course, you can't assume that everybody has both parents healthy emotionally, but as the role of the father is to guide. Maybe it's an extension of our call to protect. Like, we're supposed to protect the direction of our children as well.
It's funny. My daughter and I are personality wise pretty similar.
Uh-huh.
And so I think that because we're so similar from a personality standpoint, we tend to have, like, my son and I have not rare is probably not the right word, but less frequent, very deep and narrowly focused conversations.
Yeah.
My daughter and I tend to have many more, not deep into the abyss like my son will get, but pretty deep conversations, just because I think our personalities are so similar.
Yeah.
And so we experience things a lot the same way, and we don't see the world the same way always, but we do experience things kind of similarly.
Yeah.
So I think it's personality of your kid.
Definitely personality. Yeah. That, in my sense, if it's almost the opposite. My daughter and I are very similar, which means we're hyper independent and we don't always like feel the need to go reach out. And my sons are very much like their mom. And they're always relationally interdependent.
Yeah. Engaging.
All right, let's say you get you're a new dad.
Yeah.
Newborn. And he's or let's age that up a bit, because newborns is just diapers and food.
Yeah.
Let's say you have a new dad and his oldest is now getting into school. And I remember that being a hard transition, because you go from you have them home all the time to wait, what happened? And then you have to get very comfortable not knowing a lot of what happened to them.
Absolutely.
And you have a young dad. He's got a career that's building. He's got kids that are starting school. He's got a wife who's obviously often a stay-at-home mom, or maybe she has her own career. What steps do you see being helpful if you were to give advice to that young dad? Like, what rhythms, what steps do you think ought to be incorporated on a practical level?
I think the simplest thing to really focus on at the beginning, when everybody's starting to go in different directions, like school and work, is dinner. It's such a simple, straightforward thing to say, but like having the time to stop every evening and sit around a table with your family, even if it's a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old, getting into the habit of having whatever the conversations can be at that age. I know a lot of, there's books that you can get even. So like, how do you do a little family devotion at dinner time? If that's something that you want to do, not so much so that you're like some super holy Joe family priest guy,
right?
But more so that if you can't naturally talk about spiritual things with your kids, then get some help to talk about spiritual things with your kids, because your kids need you to talk about spiritual things. And you can't just all of a sudden decide it when they're 12 to start talking to them about spiritual things. It's, it's going to be hard. So dinner, and then sharing hobbies.
Hobbies is big.
I did not get into rock climbing until my kids got into rock climbing.
And you probably didn't want to, really. You wouldn't have
never even thought of it.
Yeah, wouldn't have.
You live in Florida. It's like the flattest place in America.
Go climb a tree.
But so sharing hobbies. And then as my kids got older, I had a thing with both my kids. I did daddy son adventures and daddy daughter dates.
Yeah.
Although my daughter thought that daddy daughter adventures sounded better than daddy daughter dates. So
you guys still go to Universal, right?
Yeah, we're park buddies. We both like all the rides and stuff.
Velocicoaster is your
oh
thing?
Yeah, it's the number one. Absolutely. Yeah. So we so when they were, got a little bit older, we had once a month with each of them, at least. But once a month we would do stuff, and then
just you, right?
Me, just me and the whichever kid was going on, and my wife. I mean, my wife got a lot more time with them than I did, because she stayed home. We homeschooled for most of that time. They went mostly homeschooled. So she got a lot of time with them. I had to be a lot more intentional with my time.
Yeah.
And then I did this fun thing with my son when he was halfway through his sophomore year in high school. I realized I had him 30 more months before he went to college. So I said, hey, why don't we make a list of 30 things to do in the next 30 months? And I'll write some down, you write some down, and then we'll kind of make a list together.
Yeah. And
so we made this fun list. We didn't get to everything on the list, but we knocked a lot of them off. He's like, let's go take snowboarding lessons together. A little bit impractical in Florida, but We never got to that one, but we like read a book together and, went to a match. He wanted to sit on the
It's
floor.
interesting that you ask him to create the list. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, he did some stuff. I did some stuff.
Oh, sure. But like his input. Yeah. I mean, that'd be great.
And I said to him, like, hey, you're going to be gone in 30 months. What do you want? What are the experiences that we want to have that we should have together before you leave?
Yeah.
So another thing I did when my son was 12, I knew, the talk. And so family life as a product that you can use. And, and so we took a weekend and we went away to a condo. Somebody let us use their timeshare condo for a weekend on the beach. And we went through this little curriculum together and it was great because Dennis Rainey said all the embarrassing stuff for me. We listened to it and then we would talk about it and then exercises that we could do and stuff. And so like we talked about everything, at 12. So one lesson I learned is 10 would have been better.
Interesting.
In this day and age, there's already, and I asked him later on when he got a little older, I asked him like, how much of that stuff was brand new to you and how much of that stuff had you sort of heard before? And when would you say I should have done it? And he said, yeah, at least a year before we did. He's like, but thanks for doing it with me.
Okay.
In fact, it was kind of funny. So he's 12 years old. We get through the weekend. We do the last thing. And it's a little hokey, with the playing a fanfare on the tape or whatever, or the CD that you're listening to. And I'm dating myself right there. And so I'm like, well, we're done. What do you think? And he's like, he stands up, puffs his chest out and he goes, stand up, Dad. So I stand up and he gives me a big hug. And I'm like, thanks for the hug, buddy. He goes, no, Dad, thank you. I know this had to be really hard for you. But yeah, so we talked about it all. I mean, the one thing we didn't talk about that I wish we talked about porn, but we didn't really talk about masturbation.
Okay.
And again, 16 years old, I asked him like, hey, should we? And he's like, absolutely. We should have talked about that.
Yeah.
Like all my friends were talking about that.
Okay.
When I was 12.
So what I'm hearing, a massive takeaway is, I think this is, you and I have been to seminary and we find it challenging.
I've gone to classes in seminary. You've been through seminary.
I've been through. Yeah, I know seminary too well.
Yeah. You have a piece of paper that with degrees on them. I just have bills.
Well, no, sure. But what we've both been, both theologically like deep into it. We're full-time ministry, and even we are saying we needed a tool to walk us.
Oh
through.
yeah.
Like, don't be a hero. You don't know everything.
No way.
And no dad does.
Yeah.
Tools are good.
Absolutely.
Even if it's a hokey, cheesy tool.
Yeah.
Get something.
Get help.
Get somebody.
Get help.
Get somebody who's willing to say the words in a talk, and then you can say, "So, what do you think?"
Yeah.
If that's your emotional bandwidth,
yeah,
that's fine.
Yeah.
Better to do that than just say nothing. But it's interesting. You started with meals. And I do remember that very vividly. Our routine was we tried to train them in how to summarize their day emotionally. And then we would do what's your favorite and least favorite. That was our routine.
Yeah.
And as a 4-year-old, they're like, my favorite was the cat. And my least favorite was the cat scratched me. It was all, but as they age, you see them going like, my friend was mean to me today at school.
Yeah.
They wouldn't have said that otherwise.
Yeah.
So getting that going.
Yeah. We did high lows.
High lows.
Kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
High low.
But someone mentioned that to us in passing, and we were like, "Oh, we should
do that." Yeah,
because I'm very good at talking, obviously. And when we're all not doing this, what I'm terrible at usually, particularly with kids, is breaking the ice. Like, so what do y'all want to talk about? And they're like, nothing.
Right.
Video games, that kind of thing. And they want to talk about the other stuff. But the when you move into that, like, okay, now you're installing the software into with the person you hope they become,
right? Teaching
them about sex and friendship and life and faith, all these things where you're going, here's how to do it, but they're not doing it yet. Those are important years where you can't just do dinner and physical presence isn't enough.
Right.
You actually have to be willing to say, hey, you're close to puberty or you're in middle school. There's all this stuff going on. And we need to talk about it.
Yeah.
And I think that is, because I've met a lot of parents my age where they go, it was great. And it just kind of fell apart.
Right.
Like they just started to pull away. They just didn't have any questions for me. And when you kind of probe into some of those stories, you find the parent went from just, well, we still eat dinner together, but you're not doing life together.
Right.
You're not transitioning into that. And then when they get to teenagers, the teenagers already been acclimated to, well, I don't reach out to my parents for help.
Yeah, my mom and dad haven't really engaged with me beyond the surface level.
Yeah, it's awkward
for a while.
It's
Yeah,
awkward.
it's awkward. Yeah, I think like like asking questions, figuring out how to ask questions, is one of the best skills that you can develop as a parent. Even if you're awkward at it, you can have to like buy one of those books and cheat, and bring 3 questions to the table or whatever. But also, like, your kids may act embarrassed when you ask them about something personal, but it's all an act.
It's all an act. Yeah.
Because think about when you were 14 and what you were thinking about all the time, and you didn't have if you had somebody to talk to about it.
Yeah.
It would have been really helpful, even if it was awkward.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, I had conversations with my daughter about sex too that were, they weren't like anatomical conversations. They were more the moral and feeling kinds of questions.
Yeah.
As well. And so she's felt comfortable to talk to me about that stuff since then, because I was like, it's cringy.
Yeah, it really is.
It's really cringy. But if your kids are thinking about it and you're not willing to talk to them about it, it's almost cruel.
No,
it's almost unkind.
Yeah.
And so like just lean in and let them get grossed out and tell you you're stupid, but they don't.
Yeah.
Most of the time they don't really mean that. They're just like embarrass themselves, and it'll open up the opportunities.
And I think with the one piece that I wonder, you had a really good death. A lot of folks out there had the I don't know what to say, Dad. I'll say nothing.
Right.
Like the distant boomer cliche, right? Every text is a thumbs up, like from their dad. It's not super relatable. But I feel for folks like that, because the reality is they're going to sit there already with no model for how to do it.
Right.
Which is a lot of young dads right now. And now they themselves are fathers, and they're going, well, where there's a break in the chain of this being passed on.
Yeah.
But I think if you find yourself in that mode, you absolutely need to reach out for resources, books, tapes, and even say to your kids, I don't know how to talk about this or what to say, but we're going to listen to somebody who does.
Yeah.
That in and of itself, I think, would inspire your kids.
Oh yeah.
Because you're being humble, but you're being a parent.
Right. Yeah. I think that you said it a few minutes ago, like, say the awkward thing.
Say the awkward.
Just say the awkward.
Just do it.
That's what we should title this episode. Say the awkward.
Say the awkward. We only found out the title at the end of the episode.